Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim Zahner with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. It's a gorgeous day in Sonoma Valley, and I'm not just paid to say that, but I am paid to say that. But it really is a gorgeous day here in Sonoma Valley. And today I have an extremely very special guest star, and I know every single week I say that. This time I actually mean it. This time I really, really mean it. And I want to introduce you to Emily Charrier with the Sonoma Index Tribune. Emily, how are you?
Hello, Tim. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Did I mispronounce your last name again?
You know, everybody does, so
Right.
I just have kind of let it go.
Okay.
But Charrier is
Charrier.
the butchered French that my people have taken on.
Je suis la Charrier. Okay, so Charrier. Emily Charrier. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. I'm excited to be here. Talking all things Sonoma.
Yeah, and you're the expert because you literally are the newspaper editor.
And publisher.
So that's why you have the eye twitch, because like something's due right now.
Always, every second of every day. But
Of the Sonoma Index Tribune, which is the largest newspaper in Sonoma.
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
so that's good.
We do have competition, shockingly.
Oh, barely. Come on. And if he's listening, come on, ask me about the podcast. I'll get you on next.
Hey, Val.
Exactly. So, Emily, tell me, what is the Sonoma Index Tribune?
Sonoma Index Tribune has been Sonoma's hometown paper since 1879.
Okay, so you're kind of new to the game, huh? Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really getting on the fad. Just at the perfect time in the industry, too. It's just on the upswing.
Like newspapers, go all in. Put all your money into newspapers, kid. You're going to be rich.
It's clearly where the money is.
Right, exactly.
But we have been twice weekly since the 1970s, and a just classic hometown paper with pictures of your kids and city politics and
everything.
I know.
It's a legit. So I'm holding up the paper right here. It's a normal, I wouldn't say broadsheet, because all the sheets have gotten broadsheet.
Yeah.
Broadsheets got smaller, though, when the new printing presses came out about 10 years ago, I think.
They did.
They used to be
They're
broader.
Still called broadsheets, though, weirdly.
Okay. So already the media's lying to me, Emily.
I know. We're just famous for it.
So you're like a legit newspaper, very long, printed on paper, the whole thing, and you cover the news of Sonoma Valley. And you've been here, like you said, since what's your 143rd year in Sonoma Valley? Not you.
I wish.
The newspaper.
Then I'd be a vampire, probably.
Oh my gosh. Could you get a vampire column?
I feel like we probably have vampires here. We just haven't discovered them yet.
That'd be great.
If you were a vampire, wouldn't you come here? It's timeless. You wouldn't get lost in the shuffle of...
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. There's always a steady source of new people.
Right.
Visiting. Tourists can come.
Would just disappear and no one would know.
What happened? They went to Sonoma. And then they went, boy, this turned dark really fast. Thanks, Emily. This is great.
When you sit down with a newspaper person, you have to expect a little bit of darkness.
There is a certain bit of macabre that comes
Yes.
with all the newspaper people.
We spend too much time watching terrible things.
You do. Well, let me ask you that. How did you end up becoming and reporting, in a wine country newspaper? How did you become a big time reporter in a small town newspaper, or whatever you want to call it there? How that happened?
I always joke that I should have found journalism much earlier than I did, although I found it quite young. And because I always was good at writing, and I always loved gossip. And that's really all a newspaper is.
So were you in sixth grade, passing notes, and you're
business.
like, Billy said so-and-so?
I just always wanted to know what was going on with everybody. And I was always asking questions and being nosier than I should have been.
So you had a curiosity about things.
Yes, 100%. And my grandmother, I credit her. She was an ardent reader of the Washington Post. She was in Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay.
And every summer I spent there, every morning we'd sit down and go
read
through
the paper.
And
Really?
it was like a big seminal part of my coming to. But I actually didn't quite put it together until my freshman year of college. I was at the University of Oregon, which is a wonderful journalism school.
Okay.
Actually, it was better when I was there.
It was better. It's gone downhill since you left.
Bit.
Wait,
Yeah,
are these the Ducks or the Beavers? I always mix them up.
Ducks.
Ducks, thank you. Okay, go Ducks. Okay.
Yes. But, sorry, I keep hitting hard beats.
You're fine. So you're up there in Oregon, and were you majoring in something other than journalism at the time?
I was going to do film at first. I
Okay.
went to this high school in Marin County that George Lucas had a film program at, and I'd done
For
that
real?
junior, senior
Okay.
year.
Okay.
And I was like, I thought I was going to be a little cinematographer. And then I had an internship at Universal Pictures when I was young, and I realized Hollywood is awful. So I was like,
Just
that's not going to work.
Was it like a summer thing? Or
like just a PA internship
Right.
type, you know,
And so
thing.
that's not for
and I
you.
was just like,
Okay.
oh God, these are not my people.
Okay.
So I was in journalism school trying to figure it out, and it was a fabulous program. So I started to take classes, and that was fish to water.
And then off you go.
Yeah. I had my first
what was
job
the
as a
name?
newspaper when I was 19.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the name of the paper up there?
The paper in Eugene is the Daily Emerald, but
Okay.
I did not work there.
Oh, did you
I
work-
worked at a tiny middle of nowhere paper that
Really?
I drove like 45 minutes to, called the Junction City News.
I love this. The Junction City News.
Now defunct.
Oh.
It was in this guy's house. We literally were in his, like, he lived upstairs and we were downstairs, and his
Right.
cats would come and like hang out with us.
Oh, they were like the copy
and,
editors and stuff. Yeah.
It was like total, this home makes hometown newspapers. So like,
It was literally a town newspaper in a guy's home.
literally. And we wrote about like little old ladies aebelskivers recipes.
That's fantastic.
Aebelskivers were real big there for
Aebelskivers
some reason.
skivers are big in Oregon. Can you explain
They
what those
had
are?
a festival. They're these Scandinavian donuts.
I'm in.
And they had a Scandinavian festival every year. That was the one thing Junction City, Oregon was famous for. And so like it was like every year who has the best aebelskiver, and like people would get very competitive, kind of like here in wine, but not nearly
but with
as
like a fried
bougie.
carbohydrate
Yeah.
or a baked
and a bunch of grandmothers and tacky aprons.
I love that.
Yeah,
Well, you know, down
yeah.
in like Solvang, it's like the Danish capital of California or something. So there are these different towns that have, you know, a shtick. You gotta have a shtick.
Rich history there. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you were the small town reporter of Junction City. You graduated from Oregon, and then you put all your stuff into a bag. You put your typewriter, your fedora, and you're like, I'm going to go out to the big city and be a newspaper reporter.
So I graduated in 2006. So like,
the economy was no problem. It was gonna be
right
awesome.
when everything was starting to get a little.
It's going to go
shaky.
forever. It was going to keep going.
And my first job, I don't know if you know this, my first job out of college was at the Sonoma Index Tribune.
Oh, really?
Bill
Okay.
Lynch hired me in
Okay.
2006 when I was 20.
Okay.
And it was the best education I could ask for in terms
So it
of
was like on-the-job
journalism.
training right there.
When you have a family like that has
Right.
so much in the community, has put so much of their legacy into this publication, you learn to appreciate it in a way that, you know, people who came up in corporate media just don't
Completely
have.
different animal.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we still have, let me just put it out there, the reason we probably have a local newspaper, and even the larger newspaper we have, which is the Press Democrat, is because it's locally owned.
1,000%.
Right.
I don't know if all of the newspapers in our company, Sonoma Media Investments, which has the Press Democrat, as you mentioned, and a slew of others.
Sonoma Magazine, Petaluma Argus Courier, Sonoma County Gazette, the Cloverdale Reveille, Hillsburg West Times and News. No, Hillsburg
Nope,
Times and News.
that's not us.
So, oh, they're coming for you.
La Prensa.
Oh, La Prensa. Okay.
Our Spanish language paper. Yes, I don't think that they would have all been able to
They would have been
survive.
parted out, and it's like this year. What makes Sonoma so unique is, I mean, other than having one of the best podcasts around, is that we have this like crazy plaza. Everyone loves it. It's a very small town, and actual numbers, you know, the actual valley itself is like 40,000 people. So it's not a lot of people, which is, you know, it's like a rounding error for like a Dallas size city or something like that. But we have this really robust community feeling. And the newspaper, I think, anchors it. And people, when I started working here, they're like, "Did you read in the paper?" And I said, "Oh, I assume they meant the Press Democrat, which is the bigger daily paper, or I don't know, the Chronicle, right? The San Francisco Chronicle." And they're like, "No, I don't read that. I only read the Index Tribune." Like, they literally only read the newspaper in Sonoma.
Oh, it's fascinating. I'm also the publisher of the Petaluma Argus Courier, and we have about 50-50 infiltration between Press Democrat and Argus Courier.
Right down there for the news, right?
Yeah, like that, you know, 50% of our people also get the PD, but here it's like 26%.
Right. It's like they're so
people get
Sonoma
the
loyal.
IT.
They're so loyal. I love that.
It's wonderful. And still cracks me up that we're 24/7 online, like everybody is nowadays. But some story will break on a Friday, but we don't have it in until the following Wednesday.
Right.
And it's been out there. It's been talked about, but Wednesday hits and my email blows up with people who haven't heard about it until that moment when they read it in the paper.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So you guys come out print twice a week, Wednesday and Fridays, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have the most loyal readership. I joke all the time. I don't think other newspapers enjoy this kind of.
What do you think makes your newspaper different from other newspapers, like in other places? Like what makes it stand out or unique or bad? You can tell me. No one's listening.
Let's just air all the dirty
Just put it right here.
I think that we really take it personally in a way that I don't see I sit on the California News Publishers Association board.
Okay.
So I work with publishers all over the state of all different, the LA Times to little tiny weeklies like mine. And there's just a different sense of community here, like you were saying. Like, you can't just walk in here and start working in Sonoma. You have to lay a lot of groundwork.
You got to get to know the people, know the stories.
Yeah. It's always tricky when we have a new reporter because it's like, okay, a year from now you'll be useful to me, but right now you're in this gray area.
Do you ever tell him, you're like, hey, go cover the chickens in the plaza and just see what he does? And
I have had so many conversations about, like, so there was this pink door and people lost their minds that there was a pink door.
I love that people take great personal attention. I'll just say attention to be kind of ambiguous about it, about certain issues that in another place you're like, why are we fighting about this?
Exactly.
Like, because there was a pink door and he was selling ice cream.
Had the audacity to want to paint their
It was the same color as bubblegum ice cream. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing. People care here more than they care anywhere I've ever worked.
That's good.
That's honestly what brought me back. I had a little sojourn after my early reporter days here and worked in Dallas for a few years.
Oh, you did?
So big city, big everything.
Were you working for a big newspaper there or like a smaller newspaper? Or?
I was working for a magazine company. Okay. We had 4 monthly editions focused on different neighborhoods, and it would be like Preston Hollow, where,
like fancy
GW
people lives.
Oh, wow. And Mark Cuban, and it'd be very bougie.
So they kind of cover my neighborhood too. Yep.
And we'd have like Oak Cliff, which is the very hipster, artsy, and so it was really fun because we got to do so much different stuff. But it was such a different experience to go from the bubble of Sonoma, where everything we read was just consumed, to this like really having to sell your stuff, in
a more crowded, less like penetration in the market, less awareness, probably less loyalty to the product.
Yeah, I mean, we did pretty well because we had that sweet neighborhood spot, and everybody wants to know what's going on their own block.
That's right.
And the Dallas Morning News dumped all of its neighborhood coverage and the media onslaught of the internet, and so that kind of like, wait, I want to know what that development down the street from me is. Like,
so this is before Nextdoor.
Yes, Nextdoor was just taking off when we were in Dallas.
On that topic, is Nextdoor good, bad, neutral for you?
Awful. Like,
but how are you going to know?
Worst things, unless you want a recommendation for a plumber. Like, if that is golden. If I need
But if I'm suspicious about someone, I think we should tell everybody and put up the worst of humanity.
Let's take pictures of people's dog droppings.
Do you see this dog poop? Whose dog poop is this?
Can you identify this?
To the person that cut me off. And you're like, oh yes, I think that person's just about to pull over and read that comment. Oh dear, did I cut you off?
The thing that's really toxic, as you probably know, being in your business, is the misinformation. Like, people just get on these tirades. The number of businesses that people claim the Matsons have bought like, no, you're hurting it.
Well, what's also interesting is that, people don't know, and this Nextdoor does show the problem if you don't have newspapers, and I'll lump in also the Facebook groups, that you don't have an arbiter of somebody to say you're not understanding the context, or you don't know how to read an agenda or an agenda packet for something, and so people assume this is terrible, and you're like, well, you haven't done what a reporter does, which is put in the work, put in the time, and know the story.
Right. There's no fact checking. It's just somebody has a feeling. Like, I saw a suspicious person in my block. It's like, oh my God.
Or I saw a development sign up, and you're like, well, that development, it's been under development for 25 years. Right? Like, this is not new. I'm like, well, I just moved here, and they're going to develop. I'm like, yeah, we've been talking about that for literally 25 years. And it's just interesting how if you don't use paid professional, newspapers, it's like you're not paying for writers. You're actually paying for editors, right? You're paying for people who know stuff.
Right.
And their experience.
And you're paying for somebody who's going to take the time to read the 2,000-page, report that the school board releases. Because that person's just going to read the front page and be like, oh, they want to do this.
Yeah, I just want to be angry. So I'm going next door. Well,
it is a great place for righteous anger. I do love that.
So we should just call it next door's righteous anger.
Yes.
Or the righteous anger that's next door. Okay?
I would love it as an entertainment space, but unfortunately people do tend to think of it as news, which is unfortunate.
That's not good. Next door, it's not news.
No. It's like listening to your grandma as the sole source of information in your life.
That's true. Grandmothers have wisdom on certain things.
There's great things, yeah. If you need a plumber, grandma's got you. But
she might not know much about the environmental impact report on that bridge, though.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But maybe your grandma's an engineer.
Here we have amazing grandmas who have run countries.
Well, that's true. We do have and also you had in Oregon the aebelskiver recipes.
I mean, grannies are my sweet spot. But you must deal with this where I'm sorry, I totally am struggling to articulate.
Okay. Go for it.
The information that comes out of there, you have to kind of fight it.
It's funny because you mentioned, I'm assuming you mean representing tourism and hospitality.
Yeah.
We have one of those weird industries where the product is also a place where people live. So you have to be cognizant that, we talk about the destination, but really that's resting upon a community, right? And oftentimes what I'm putting out there at sonomavalley.com, get your visitor guide today. What I'm putting out there isn't actually 100% the truth of that place. It's the representation of what a visitor will experience. Because a visitor doesn't really want to go to the school board meeting or the water board meeting, right? Because maybe they work for a school board and they want to go on vacation. So visitors bureaus are there to tell you about things to see or do, but very, it's very basic. And it's also overwhelmingly positive. It's shiny, right? But we all know that, right? Yeah. But some people are like, "That's not what Sonoma Valley is." If they've been here for 300 years, and I'm like, "Well, you're right," because that's what Sonoma Valley is to a visitor right now at that moment. Right. Who, you and I, if I said, "Hey, Emily, do you want to go to dinner with a winemaker?" You're like, "Oh my God, not a winemaker."
You're like, again.
There's so many winemakers. But if you're visiting from Illinois, that's exciting, right? Yeah. And it is. I do love going to dinner with winemakers. Just the ones that talk too much become cork dorks, and you know who I'm talking about. Those kind. You're like, "Argh." So it's just that we do have to talk to people that live here. That this is a major industry. It's a huge employer. 60% of the town's income is derived from hospitality businesses. But at the same time, I can't convince people just to Venmo me money. I have to get the Canadians here. They won't just Venmo me $300 and say, thanks for the visit. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But Canadians, you're all welcome. Come on down. It's fantastic. Can I ask you some questions?
Always.
Okay. Do you ever, just to shake things up, want to afflict the afflicted and comfort the comfortable, rather than comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable? Do you ever today I'm just going to be a jerk reporter? Today's the day.
God, no.
Well, so you're nice. You're nice.
Well, I hope that doesn't exist in my industry in any meaningful capacity.
You know what? Only on one spot.
One network that shall remain nameless.
Okay.
But I think
you're never going to wake up today's the day I'm going to take down the Girl Scout leader.
That is my number one.
Because the Thin Mints, the great Thin Mints.
Right right. But I love the authenticity that this job requires. Okay. It's the best part of it.
And your job is to actually pay attention to people in power and ask. You don't have to be difficult, but you have to ask questions.
Now that part is fun with the when somebody's handing you something that's not honest
Right.
and you get to needle back on
You
that.
have a little BS meter going there.
That is very satisfying.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. So people say that there's two things about journalism. It's either the first draft of history or literature in a hurry. Is that an either or is it both? Or like, how does that work?
I think it can definitely be both.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's heartbreaking about our industry right now is how quickly everything has to happen. I think people don't understand or appreciate that, like, when something is happening and we put out just a little brief about it to let people know,
Right.
oh, you know, X, Y, and Z is happening. Here's the like little snippet, but you need to give us a day to actually figure out what's going on, because we
Right.
can't just put that out there. You know?
There has to be some basis in fact. You've got to be able to make sure it's true-ish, as far as you know at that moment.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah. No, 100% true. And, you know, a lot of the time that means we don't cover the entire issue because we don't
Right.
know all of the pieces.
Because it's like an iceberg. You see what's visible, but there's probably a lot under the surface that you don't
Right.
know what's going on. Right?
Context is so important
Right.
in what we do. You know, it defines everything of why, how did we get here? Why did this happen this way?
Right.
And that's one of the things that I really stress about as a, you know, editor is
Right.
this normalization of, oh, here's the 2-cent Facebook post from a politician about what's really going on. And people are like, that's it. That's what he said.
That must be true.
You
And you're like,
know?
there's so much behind that you don't know about.
And it's, it's, but I do think the first draft of history, I have a magnet that says that on my refrigerator,
Oh, do
which
you?
shows how, like, you know, basic I am on some level.
No, it's a good story because historians will look back and say, what did we think at that time? Because that's what we knew at that time. And then you got to go see the whole change in that story. Right?
One of the lines of businesses I'm looking to develop is actually like a researcher who does nothing but go through our archives, because we get requests 4 or 5 times a week
Right.
from somebody who's writing a book or looking in their family history or whatever. Like, that record is precious in the long term
Right.
of things.
Wait, you don't have the morgue just full of like dusty newspapers and I can go
Oh my
down
God,
there?
we used
Did you?
to in the like Bill Lynch days,
Yeah.
and it was so much fun to play around. And we had Jack London's original writings that he did for the paper. 'Cause
He
was a
wrote for the paper?
columnist. Yeah,
He was a columnist?
He was a columnist for the IT.
I did not know that. Okay.
And we had, like, he would handwrite his stuff and send it in, and
That's
somebody
great.
would typeset it, you know. And we have, I think
They must be
there
at
is
the-
this big collection now.
And maybe the Sonoma County Archives has a copy of it too or something. But that's
it
cool.
it was so cool, and like just, you know, so much history that
Okay.
would get lost otherwise. Like the spaghetti eating bunny that made the cover of Life magazine from Sonoma,
what is the spaghetti?
because apparently that
Tell
was
me.
a thing back
So
then.
was there the item Sonoma Valley, a spaghetti eating
It was
rabbit?
like a full cover
Like a
of
real
like
rabbit?
this bunny with a napkin tied around its neck,
Oh,
with
like
an actual bunny rabbit, like
we're talking an actual mammal.
yes,
Not a human
an
being dressed in an
animal.
animal costume.
Nope.
Not a
Nope.
furry.
And
Okay.
this bunny liked spaghetti and somehow ended up on the cover of Life magazine. And
That's fantastic.
I want to say it was the late 30s.
Okay.
And that's precious history. See?
Can I get a copy of that?
I have the
That
article
needs to go in the
hanging
visitor
my-
guide. Okay.
I have a copy of it hanging
Okay.
in my office because it cracks me up every
That
time.
is kind of random.
There was also a great headline I came across recently that was from the late 1918, that was, ladies are advised not to drink and drive, because apparently men could handle their liquor and driving back
jeez.
then, but ladies could not.
Well, for the record, no one's advised to drink and drive.
No.
And you can
No.
walk or have someone drive you, and there's plenty of tours to look out for here. Wow.
Shows how things don't age.
That was in
as
the,
well.
in the Index Tribune, for real? God. That was probably during Prohibition, too. It was like bathtub gin. They're like, you might go blind.
It was, not
Okay.
everything ages well in the newspapers, but that's also important too, because it's that moment in time.
That gives you, you're absolutely right. Another question for you. Emily, you've been doing this a long time, fairly long, and you have to cover a lot of public and government issues, and you know, so we can stay informed, right? That's what, you know this stuff. So my question is, who is your favorite member of the Marin Sonoma Mosquito and Vector Control District?
Ooh,
Yeah.
deep one. Honestly, I could not find one. And I know that they can't fill that spot right now because they keep
real.
sending me press releases. Like, we need somebody to
maybe
fill
it's
this.
you.
So if you're listening and you're inspired by Marin Mosquito
Marin,
Vector.
Sonoma Mosquito and Vector Control District.
They are looking for a body right now.
Guys, this is the only kind of stuff that you can find through your newspaper. And this is democracy in action. Pour out that water in the spring so the mosquitoes don't breed.
It's been like a year. They keep sending. Nobody
For real.
wants this
Nobody
position.
wants this position? Because they all want to be on the San Rafael Lighting Landscape District. That's the exciting one.
Yes, absolutely.
That's where the politics happens.
Oh my God, the Tree Advisory Committee from Petaluma, that is, they have to decide if
You
it's a
call
maple
that a
or an
maple?
elm.
Get the hell out of here.
It's a big deal.
I've got your oak right here. Okay, here's a good question that I think a lot of people wonder what it's like for you. And have you, using your cub reporting skills, plucky determination, and a little bit of daring do, ever solved a small town murder?
Oh my God, that is actually one of my dreams. Like, with a bullet, like,
Right.
I want so badly to have some role in uncovering the great,
Right, the thing.
The Santa Rosa's hitchhiker murder, that
Right.
was never solved. Like, there was like 7 girls killed in the 70s.
This is awful.
It's
Yeah,
terrible, but
yeah.
it's never been solved.
It's
And I'm
never
like,
been solved?
We could do it.
Well, it'd be like what Murder, She Wrote, Jessica, the main character, it was set in Mendocino, the county to our north, and it's always the small town writer person who was like, wait a minute, that man opened the door with his left hand.
And there's all these
Right.
newspapers that start true crime podcasts now, like Dirty John with the LA Times and
Really?
Bear Brook, whatever that NPR did, and they're solving crimes. And I'm like, let's
We gotta
get in
do
on
one.
this. Like,
All right. Not that there's a lot of crime, thank God, in Sonoma.
Almost
but,
none.
But if it happens, I want you to solve it as like
I'm gonna
the reporter.
do my darndest.
Okay,
Tim.
thank you.
I'm gonna take care of that. I have solved some like weird little oddsies. Like, we wrote a story once about I think it was raccoons, but it might have been possums, kept like congregating in the back of a business behind the plaza, and nobody could figure out why, and they were starting
drugs?
to cause like trouble, and it turned out somebody was throwing their garbage out there from another building.
So it was really a dumping
it wasn't
issue.
Put together, but we solved.
You solved the crime.
mystery of the raccoons.
Of the
in
raccoons
alley.
in the alley.
Yeah.
That's good. And I bet you, JMB has been on the podcast before. He can write a song about the raccoons in the alley. Or that could be one of the bands. All right, we have a couple more questions for you, but you're going to have to help me with something. One big threat to the newspaper business was the internet when it first came out. And actually it was Craigslist, because a lot of the classifieds were how newspapers made a lot of money.
That was rough.
And then
Yeah.
Craig Newmark's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to destroy democracy by giving out free classified ads. Who would have thought?
I know. It seems so innocuous at
Right,
the time.
and it
We were
greatly
like,
changed
this
it.
won't threaten us. And then-
I remember, this is just back in the day. I used to be a teen reporter for the San Jose Mercury News. And my editor at the time showed me a thing. I think at the time it was called, I don't know, the Mercury Place or something like that. It was a closet with some like modems. And she's like, we're going to put the newspaper so you can see it through your computer. And I'm like, no way. She's like, yeah, I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but we're like, this is amazing. And that did affect newspapers, but you guys did adapt. Newspapers adapted to essentially not even being newspapers anymore. You're media companies, you're content companies, right? So that's where you're at. The reason why I bring this up, the next wave of threat, and I hope I don't make your eye twitch more here and make you freak out. People are talking about things like ChatGPT and AI, right? Artificial intelligence writing, which could be a threat. It could be a threat to you and I. You and I could be in a simulation right now and not even know it, right?
I feel like that's probably happening, but let's not go down that rabbit hole.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read some examples of writing. Can you, if you be a good sport, you can walk out right now if you want, but
this is going to be intense.
But we have to decide what's been written by AI,
A bot.
by a bot, right, versus written by a real person.
Okay.
So can you do? And
Listen for
I
grammatical errors.
I literally went to. I didn't use ChatGPT. I used one of the other ones because ChatGPT wanted my phone number. I'm like, you're not getting my phone number.
Never give AI your phone number.
They probably have my phone number,
That's how
but
the singularity begins.
exactly. And then alternate happens, and then or whatever was it alternate? Skynet. Skynet's
Yes,
coming.
exactly.
Okay, ready? So here's an obituary, and you have to guess. I'm gonna read two of them. You have to
AIs
guess.
write obituaries now?
Well, you just have to guess.
Okay.
Maybe they write them for, I don't know, like for bots, maybe. You never know. It's like, what's that?
So meta.
Blade Runner kind of stuff. Okay, here we go. Obituary. It is with heavy hearts that we announce the passing of our beloved Julie, who passed away peacefully at 98 years old on June 15th. She was born on August 28th, 1925 in Springfield. Throughout her life, Julie was known for her incredible talent, which she cultivated from a young age. She was a teacher for 35 years and was highly respected by her colleagues for her dedication and hard work. Julie will be deeply missed by her family and friends, who will always remember her infectious laughter, unwavering kindness, and boundless love. So that's the first one.
That's a lot of cliches, so that's a red flag right there.
Okay, good.
Go.
So you're good. Ready for the second one? Richard Nixon is gone now, and I am poorer for it. He was the real thing, a political monster straight out of Grendel, and a very dangerous enemy. He could shake your hand and stab you in the back at the same time. He lied to his friends and betrayed the trust of his family. Not even Gerald Ford, the unhappy ex-president who pardoned Nixon and kept him out of prison, was immune to the evil fallout. Ford, who believes strongly in heaven and hell, has told more than one of his celebrity golf partners that I know I will go to hell because I pardoned Richard Nixon. Which one's real? Which one's AI?
This makes me feel like AI should write obituaries if that's what we're going to get, because I'm hopeful the Nixon one is, because that is the best obit we've heard in a while. You can tell that families write obituaries, not newspaper people, because they're flowery.
Right.
But that's a real obit right
that's
there.
That's good. You're
that's
right.
Like New York Times quality.
You are so spot on. So the first one was an AI. I put in write an obituary, and I made up the name Julie and the dates, but otherwise I put in it's with heavy heart we announce the passing of Name, our beloved Name, who passed on the date. But it's like Mad Libs, right?
Yeah.
It was like Mad Libs. The second one is actually Hunter S. Thompson's obituary of Richard Nixon in Rolling Stone. Which definitely has a voice to it.
The best.
A great
Valley voice too.
So it's a little different, right, than the AI, which I think you're right. The cliches, the lot of commas. Mm-hmm. It's what I used to write when I was 15.
Yes, absolutely. Although I am working with some publishers across the state to test some AI software that does fact checking, and that is fabulous.
So there's a theory that Google can control reality, for example, by deciding what are facts, right? And I know we're going to this post-truth, blah blah blah, but this is before what we just went through. Mm-hmm. Someone were talking about if you were good enough at controlling search, you could create facts that people wouldn't go too deep to find the truth, and it become it. So I wonder, I'd be interested to see how AI, if they filter that or not.
I would love to peek behind that veil.
Yeah.
We had Richard Gingras, the news director for Google, at a conference I threw last month for statewide journalism conference, and there was a lot of grilling on that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was a really interesting conversation, but they really have no sense of what they're doing.
There's no authorship. Like your name, your byline's in the paper, and your email address is there. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. I'm like, that's not how the raccoons in the alley went. But
you're maligning the raccoons.
Right. With Google, there's no one to talk to.
No. And there was a terrifying Stanford study that came out that only 0.01% of kids can tell the difference between
0.01%.
real sourced information and stuff that's just on the internet.
Okay.
3 out of almost 3,500 kids were able to do it.
Warning, journalists doing math. Good job.
Yes.
Good job.
Never trust a journalist attempting to math.
Here's, can we do another one of these? You want to help me? Okay. I'm going to read 2 more paragraphs. You help me decide. Sonoma Valley is a great place to visit, with plenty of things to do and see. You can enjoy the scenery or take part in some of the many events that take place throughout the year. There are also plenty of places to eat, drink, and shop along Highway 12, as well as other roads through Sonoma Valley. That's one. Ready for the next one? Welcome to Sonoma Valley. We're glad you are here. From the vineyards on the hills to the charming small towns to the stunning vistas from the mountains, Sonoma Valley will win you over. Just 45 miles north of San Francisco, Sonoma is the ideal escape for travelers looking to slow down and enjoy the best of California's food and wine scene.
Is this how you insert ad copy, just low key into these things? A little plug.
Remember, brought to you by General Mills, your favorite cereal. So between those two, which one do you think?
I'm going to say the first one was probably bot created because, again, total lack of personality.
Do you think along Highway 12 and other roads? I think the bot went to Google Maps and like, well, there must be other roads. So,
although I have seen some very poorly written press releases that I know came from human beings, so it's always hard to say.
We're pretty good at those. One thing that I love about travel is we always say from blank to blank, comma, there's something for everyone.
Oh, yes.
Right. So
that's
like
a classic.
And you see, or it's the workplace day, or you're going to stay another day. Like there's so many tropes that we lazily go to. And I think AI looks for that stuff. Right.
I mean, that filters to the top because we all use it so much.
We do.
I spent a good year while they're learning Sonoma beating that out of my cub reporters of like, really? With the cliches?
Really with the cliches? Like, but they're so good. They're so good. Okay, last one, and then we'll get into our next section, which is you're going to help me answer questions from visitors.
Ooh, I love that.
Okay. This one is a biography of Emily Charrier. Charrier.
Exciting.
Ready? I'll read some, okay? Emily Charrier is a well-known name in the Sonoma Valley, where she has been a journalist for several years. She currently works as a reporter for the Sonoma Index Tribune, a local newspaper that covers news, events, and other happenings in the area. Emily was born and raised in California, and she developed an early interest in writing and journalism. She pursued her passion by attending the University of California, Davis, where she earned a degree in English with a focus on creative writing. After graduation, Emily began her career as a freelance writer, contributing articles to various publications, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's one.
I love that because my sister went to Davis, so clearly it did some research.
And here's I won't tell you which one's which. Sonoma Index Tribune publisher to assume new role as editor. Sonoma Valley's most decorated newspaper is under new leadership this week. After 3 years as publisher of the Sonoma Index Tribune, Emily Charrier also became editor on July 13th. While she grew up in West Marin, Charrier has deep connections.
Just pretend the C is an S. That's the easiest one.
Okay, Charrier has deep connections and a rich Sonoma Valley history as her mother was raised on a prune farm north of Kenwood. She was initially hired in 2006 by former IT publisher Bill Lynch, blah, blah, blah. Which one of those is AI, and which one of those is possibly written by a human, Emily?
Considering the first one had not very good facts in it, I'm going to go with the second. Also, I wrote the second one, so that helps.
I was going to say the second one was staff report from the Index Tribune.
Yeah, whenever that happens. So, like, give us a bio and we'll throw some quotes in it.
The staff report. So, it's funny. So AI did have you going to becoming an Aggie instead of a duck. So at UC Davis, the Aggies, I think.
But again, it did its research. My sister is all over that
similar,
institution. So
okay. Same last name?
My last name, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, there you go. Just like, might as well be her. One of the benefits, though, of being a journalist, other than the high pay and the very short public meetings, is you guys get good obituaries. You do.
We get some good obituaries. I read national obituaries, like that curmudgeon guy a few years ago who wrote his own obit and it went super viral. And I'm like, this is what people should do. This is what I would want my loved ones to do for me, is be as ridiculous as possible.
But when a journalist dies, it's usually on or near the front page. It's not always above the fold, but it's somewhere. And it's a good one because the people you worked with hopefully either liked you or had good stories about you to write a good obit. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. So that is one of the payoffs of being a journalist, I think.
Yeah, that is true. You always have somebody to do your bidding after you die because we know writers.
It's your revenge. Do you guys all have an envelope in your desk in case of my untimely death? My obituary. That's right. In case you're wondering, did not go to Davis. In spite of what Google or AI says.
I say all the time, though, my favorite part of my job is being around journalists all the time because we are, I'm just going to say it, more entertaining than the average bear because we talk to all sorts of different people. We are naturally curious. We, have twisted senses of humor. It's a fabulous industry in that regard.
I think there is a certain sardonic, cynical, but if you scratch, there's the idealist underneath there. They're they want to see better people.
You fight the idealism and the realism constantly, but you also have to care a lot because, as you said, we're not getting paid a huge amount of money to do it, and it's a lot of work.
You're getting paid in adulation and respect in the comments section.
Yes, and the just deep love that the online community shares.
Okay, online comments. which might be someone underneath this video by the time we get it done. Do you guys know who those people are in real life? Or are they all anonymous?
We do have a way to look up what they signed up under, but oftentimes that's only a email address. So who knows, I don't know if you remember a few years ago when Rachel Hundley had those mailers sent out about her, and it had an email address that we ran through our system and found one of the commenters.
Oh, really? Was
attached to that email address.
Wow.
Who happened to be a developer who was not a huge fan of Rachel Hundley's policies on development that he was trying to pass through. And it was just one of those chef's kiss little gem moments.
Thank you for the bow on this story.
It's also get a burner email, dude.
I know. It's get an AI to do it for you. Well, it is interesting because you should never read the comments, but we all read the comments.
Oh, I have to read the comments to delete all the racist ones.
That maybe AI could help you with that, I hope.
That's a good one.
It is interesting that some people are on there. You click on their name, and there'll be 5 comments from just the past hour on just random sports stories, a news story, a chef's recipe. Mm-hmm. And do you just sit at home and have opinions?
In this town, yes. I know
Really?
Instantly there are 3 people. Every time a story hits, they will say something, even if it's
just their hot takes.
Usually one's very jokey, and I totally appreciate his comments. One's just wow, that's neat. And you're excellent addition to the conversation there.
Thanks for sharing.
But I have a love-hate relationship with online comments because they can get toxic so quickly, and we do have to shut down our comments more often than we probably should because they're too much to monitor at times.
Right.
But it's also how people connect with us in their day-to-day life, and I hear about it all the time of, I saw that story on Facebook, or
right.
People, whenever people start to fight with each other in the comment section, I get blown up on my text messages. People are are you seeing this?
This is click gold.
And I'm yeah, it does. Those discourses are an important part of it.
And sometimes, and that's, I say, actually, it is, if it can be constructive or at least interesting, and not devolve into our worst base instincts. I've seen really good discussions of everything from a roundabout, for example. But people consider this, and here's a study. And it's actually a really in-depth conversation.
People will learn from each other sometimes, and
Right.
it's beautiful to see. And I do appreciate when public officials jump on there and
Right.
if people are spinning off in the wrong direction, they
Right.
course correct,
Right.
And say no, you're misunderstanding.
And that's probably because you are the public sphere. You're literally, we have a plaza where people go talk, but you're literally the media plaza for a space. And if people do it correctly, that's the beauty of a free media, of free speech, and the free exchange, the marketplace of ideas, which I love.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Occasionally we have to block people.
Right.
Thank God it's not that often, but you only get to say so many terrible things before you get kicked off the island.
Maybe what you do is we're now going to reveal your real name. You say one more bad thing.
Facebook,
here's your
where people are doing it.
Never mind.
Whatever
Right.
name.
Right.
But they will call a year later and be please unban me. I miss being a part of it.
Really?
They feel left out when they're no longer.
Sorry, you're on timeout, kid.
I know. I feel like Facebook in that moment when you go to Facebook jail because you've been awful, and then 30 days later you get to come back.
What did I miss? Were we playing capture the flag or hopscotch or was it dodgeball? Yeah.
But yeah, if people say they'll behave, I'll let them back on.
Okay.
And then,
Oh, so you have the band hammer. You're the one. You wield the band hammer.
There's a few of us, but
boom.
yes, I'm
Okay.
the one that does it
That has
most
it.
often because
I think if people have crappy, bad, malformed thoughts and opinions, they should just do what other people do and get a podcast.
there you go.
Thank you.
That's a medium that everybody's getting on board with.
It's just garbage. It's just full of garbage. It's just a cesspool.
I see. That's the thing. I have so much respect for what you do because, writing is you can skim it. You can just get the highlights. You don't have to
Right.
sit down and consume this medium.
Right. Well, basically, most people do this while they're doing something else,
Right.
like violently retching over the sound of the things I talk about. All right, I got something for you. You have a section here. Are you ready? It's that part of the podcast so we get to, which we call We Get Questions. Thank you. Every guest has to bring their own sound effect to it. So that's perfect. I'm going to clip that for TikTok. All right, here we go. So just a quick reminder, people send us questions, or they walk up to us, they text us.
Is this like all over the country people, or is this mostly locals?
No. Like people walk into our visitor center, they can text us. You can text us right now, 707-996-1090.
I'm going to send so many questions.
Yeah, ask us questions.
See if they end up on here.
It blows up Jose's phone.
I love blowing up Jose's phone.
He's like, ah! So I'm going to ask you some of these questions.
Okay.
And then you're going to help me answer them, and we can go from there. So are you ready?
Yep.
Imagine you're in my visitor center. You're one of my volunteers. You're great. Okay, here we go. Hi. That's how they say it. Is there a winery where we can get lunch or charcuterie or some food?
Nope. We don't have those here. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to send you back to volunteer orientation.
I know. It's hard for me to take things seriously when it's that obvious. But let's say more, which would you recommend?
Yeah.
I mean, Pangloss.
They have good charcuterie right there on the plaza.
Hard to beat.
That's good. That's a really nice tasting room.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful
Giant
inside.
Chicken art. I mean, what more could you want?
What else do you need, people?
But honestly, I don't eat meat or cheese, so I'm like a little bit.
What are you doing in this county?
I know, it's terrible.
Well,
Produce.
I'm putting that in my comments section. Well, you expect that from Emily Charrier, whatever her name is. She doesn't eat meat or cheese.
There's a few people that have keyed in on this, and whenever I drop a food story, they're like, don't listen to her. She doesn't eat meat or cheese.
Basically vegan. So, okay, that's a good question. So, and I like that you were able, though, to say charcuterie or lunch and Pangloss, but you personally don't partake.
True.
But you partake of wine?
I recommend it enough.
I love it.
I feel
okay,
like
that's good.
that, it comes around.
There's also down the street from them, Cochon. He also will do a little charcuterie there, and he has really good coffee. That's a secret. There's a really good... Some wineries have really good coffee, and he'll do that. And I like that if you're not a drinker, but you're with some friends, you can sit there and be Italian and do espresso.
You know what they don't do there, though?
What?
Tea.
They don't do tea?
Isn't that funny?
Who drinks tea?
Me. I went there for an interview, and they were like, well,
do you drink hot tea or iced tea?
Neither. They don't have any tea.
What kind of tea do you drink, though, again?
Oh, well I drink whatever tea. I'm not a tea snob.
Yeah.
I'm into all the teas.
Are all the teas? I got Lipton, and then
I have like
Lipton
that
Lemon.
Somebody sent me, there's like a special Earl Grey that was released with the royal wedding. I have like a thing of that. Like, I'm all over the map on tea. But
I do like tea, too.
It's good.
But, yeah, so other ones, just real quick, St. Francis Winery is a really good food thing. But basically, you'd have a shorter list of wineries that don't have food. And they're not all lunch, per se, but they have snacks, right?
Yeah.
And they're not all meat. You can get like nuts and cheeses and whatever.
God.
What?
Those spicy almonds at Gloria Ferrar.
Oh, so you know that, yeah.
Live off
That's,
of those.
they're dangerous. They're really good, and they're completely healthy.
So good.
Yeah.
When I was flying to Europe, at one point went there and I was like, can I just have a big bag? And they like totally did me a solid.
If they're Marcona almonds, which are special type of almonds, I'm not going to tell you that they are fried in olive oil, but they're so good. They're so good. Yeah.
So good.
Okay, ready? You're in the visitor center. This couple walks in. They look healthy and happy because they're from Europe, right? So they have like 25 weeks of vacation. And they ask...
They're European.
They're European. We are from Germany, and we want to know more about the history of this area.
Ooh.
Where should we go?
My gosh, we have such good historical resources in this town. My first stop, and this is just a personal favorite here because I grew up going to it all the time, would be the Vallejo home. Okay. My mother loved that building when she was growing up, and she would take us there all the time. And so, like, you can go through the entire museum in 8 minutes.
Right. It's a small house. It was actually ordered as a kit. It came around South America, and General Mariano Vallejo was one of the early mayors of Sonoma and settlers here. And so you would go to the house and kind of see like what they lived like back then, right?
Yeah, okay. I love that like kind of experiential. Same with Jack London State Park, where you get to see inside somebody's house and their clothes and their beds and all that fun stuff. But also, I think totally under the radar, well, maybe not totally, but the barracks is like just that gift shop alone is awesome.
Okay, now it's an insider secret. That's an amazing gift shop.
It's such a great place for like Christmas gifts, like little,
if you want Sonoma stuff, California stuff, Californiana as they call it, poppies, like seeds, plants.
Super cute.
It's
and
cool.
the like adorable little docents in there are
Right.
so sweet, and they just
They
want
are.
to talk your ear off of like, and this happened, and this happened. You
And,
can do
and there's
this.
like a
And-
little camera, a little next door. There's a video talking about the barracks and what was there and stuff. So
yeah.
it's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, good. See, you're good. Okay, let's see. Here's one we got, which is kind of a weird question. What's culinary in Sonoma? And then we say, I'm sorry, what does that mean? And they say, I write culinary blogs, and I'm going to be visiting, and I'm interested in culinary things.
Did they say culinary?
Or culinary. It sounds like a bot, doesn't it? Because like I said, culinary? Like who says culinary? Who
It
says
sounds
that?
very Midwestern.
I don't know
why.
Or it sounds
but-
like the Dewey Decimal System. It's like, oh yes, let's talk about culinary items.
Oh my God! Talk about a swing a dead cat. You can hit anything and it'll be delicious.
Well, I mean, like for example, okay, hold on. If I want to know culinary stuff, your newspaper has a lot of culinary writers
yes,
and
this
stuff.
probably isn't the best edition
Oh.
for that because we pulled from the PD this week.
You did the PD, the
I
crappy
know.
Santa Rosa writers.
But yes, oh my God, I mean, it depends. You have to almost narrow it down.
Okay,
from
let's
culinary,
say I
'cause
want to
there's
go to a
so
cooking
much.
class. Are there places where I can go get like food, like people?
Shauna Davis makes cheese,
and her new
that
book called
is
Buttermonger.
Buttermonger.
I just saw it. It looks good.
Yes.
It looks delicious.
I read a New York Times article about how butter boards are the new charcuterie boards.
Right. Butter boards are the new shark. So we're getting a little less animal centric for people who don't eat meat. Now, if you're vegan, that's another matter.
There you go.
But I like that. Butter boards are the new
sprinkle some
charcuterie.
butter on stuff
All the time.
But oh my God, there's so many. Abbott's Passage does cooking classes, right?
Yeah, I think they do.
With Chef Kyle. I swear that was on one of the.
Yes, no, oh, good job, you're remembering press releases. Yes, so Chef Kyle is up there, and they actually have a culinary program. They have a whole coffee program up there too, at
yeah.
Abbott's Passage, and Kyle.
I can never say his last name.
Yeah, I think it's
but
Charrier.
he's Wonderful, wonderful.
You just got to pronounce the K like a C, like an S.
I'll take it.
Yeah, Chile. So Chile's up there. No, so other culinary places. Williams Sonoma, of course, the original Williams Sonoma store is here on Broadway, right next to the Pete's Coffee there. Because I sit on their chairs when I get my coffee.
A little other archive treasure at the IT is the first ads that he took out for
really?
Williams Sonoma, the original store. And like we have his
What
little
did,
like handwritten.
what did a chef's knife cost back then?
Like 12 cents probably. I don't know.
So much completely different price. All right, so the answer is similar to the first one. Where can I get lunch? There are a lot of things that are culinary in Sonoma, right? And so there's like cooking classes. There's great markets. Sonoma Market is a locally owned market that's just down the street here. That they have a lot of Sonoma products that are made here.
Oh my God. Farm stands.
The farm stand, so Watma strawberries. That's going to happen soon. The patch, the
Paul's
farmers market,
Produce.
Friday farmers market.
Fabulous.
Like my Yeehaw coffee. So all the stuff
we
is
love
here.
Yeehaw.
There are a lot of culinary things. So probably the best thing to do is just come here and follow your nose, and you're going to find things to do that are culinarily focused.
Oh
is
my
answer.
God, absolutely. Yeah. Bakeries, anything you want to eat.
I love bakeries. Over at Sweet Pea, which is across the street from over here on the other side, they have a thing called a Queen Amman, the Queen, I can't pronounce it, but it's this delicious, fantastic pastry.
I really would be in trouble if I was
so
across from Sweet Pea.
No, it's so
that
good.
Would be a problem.
Yeah, and then Baker and Cook the other. I know all the bakeries.
It's the best.
All the bakeries and all the cafes.
The best.
You know where to find me. All right, so that's good. You're good. You answered that one. Final question. Hello, I am looking to find a yoga class on a vineyard for an upcoming trip.
Oh my God, on a vineyard.
Yeah, any
I'm
recommendations?
sure there's 1,000. I've just never done it because I focus on goat yoga at Charlie's Acres.
That's close. So tell me about that. What's that about?
Oh my God. It's like everything you would want. Charlie's Acres is an animal rescue here in Sonoma. They do farm animals, and you can just go take yoga classes there with little goats running around.
Just running around everywhere.
It's like in the dirt though, so you really have to own the farm lifestyle.
Right, you gotta
like you're
be
not
there.
gonna go in your Lululemon and zhuzh it up.
But you can go like in your Dick's Sporting Goods brand sweatpants.
Totally.
Or your PE coach shorts.
And Pets Lifeline does kitten yoga.
They do.
Yes, where you can just have kittens running around you. And that to me
sounds like a lot of fun.
I would do that over a vineyard personally.
Okay,
but,
okay.
I'm sure there's a million that do vineyard.
There are. So like I know Vianza does stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Sonoma Yoga is a local yoga company. They're over on 5th Street West, and they do have yoga. They do other places. Mm-hmm. And you can often just look on our website, sonomavalley.com/events. Or sonomanews.com, and I'm sure there's all sorts of information on there. But
absolutely.
Yes, that question came in via text to us, that 707-996-1090.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah. So, Jose, now you can answer it.
Now I need to do a story on where you can do yoga that's unconventional.
Unconventional yoga. It's like on the back of a moving truck. Unconventional and dangerous.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Trying to do
because your core.
Yeah, trying to do a headstand in a moving vehicle.
Well, people do like hippotherapy. They do hippo for horses. They do therapy on the back of horses because it helps their core and stuff like that. So why not yoga?
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's bring it on.
Fine. You need a yoga mat and a big horse.
Starting new industries here in the podcast.
Emily, you, as always, it's great to always talk to you, but thanks for coming by the podcast. I do know people are going to want to know how to find more information about your newspaper or media companies, we're calling it.
Yes, absolutely. SonomaNews.com. It has everything. We keep it simple.
And people can still subscribe to the digital version, and if they live locally-ish, they can get the print edition.
Yes. And I mean, just to plug our sister publications, PressDemocrat.com is also, if you're looking for a more regional approach to the area, but we like to keep it Valley-centric here, so SonomaNews.com.
SonomaNews.com. I think, but you're right. Sonoma Magazine also is sort of a lifestyle magazine, and some of the stories migrate around the company. It's all good stuff. Almost as good as the Sonoma Valley Visitor's Guide, I hear, which you can get at SonomaValley.com. So what I would recommend is everyone go to SonomaValley.com, get your visitor's guide, sign up for email blasts, and then hurry over to Sonoma News for the latest on what's happening, this week, or what's happening with the Sonoma Marin Mosquito Vector Control Board or the San Rafael Lighting District Board.
All the important things. But no, we have a robust events and entertainment section. You want to find live music. You want to find anything fun and interesting happening in town. We are definitely covering it.
Great. Emily, thank you so much for being on the Sonoma Spiel. And we'll remind everybody, thanks for listening. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Mom and Dad, hope you're doing well. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tim.